Hello students. So today the question that we have with us says that which two factors bring about loss of food grains during the storage, and give one example of each. And the second part of this question says that state any two control measures that has to be taken before grains are stored. So in this particular question, first of all, what you need to understand is we need to talk about the storage of the food grain, as you can see. Now, what you need to answer here is how you can actually, like, what are the factors which leads to the loss of food grains during the storage. Okay, and then also we need to find the two methods, two control measures which has to be taken before we are trying to store the grains. Okay, not after, because there are two ways where we actually talk about the storage of food grains, like how to control it so that they don't get spoiled. So one is before, one is after. So we need to here talk about the before one. So first of all, if you talk about the what you can say here, as the question says that the factors which leads to the loss of food grains. So there are two factors. The first is a biotic factor, the second is a abiotic factor. Again, the terms are self-explanatory. Biotic means living, abiotic means non-living. So the living organism which affect the food grains are the insects, microorganisms which are like bacteria and fungi, and mites. Mites are basically the insects which are very similar to the ticks and feeds on the what you can say grain, whereas the ticks are the parasites which directly feeds on the animals. Then you have bird, rodents and other animals as well, which are also like affecting the food grains if you just let them in the open. Then sometimes enzymatic action with the food within the food material is also one of the reason. Like if the conditions are not good enough for the storage of the food grain. Okay, like if you just let them in the open sun, so what happen is there will be some enzymatic action which leads to the spoilage of the food material. Now, what are the abiotic factors? So these are generally the non-living environmental factors. Like when we say enzymatic action, so in such cases, what I can consider is the abiotic factors which are actually leading to that. Okay, so what are these abiotic factors? That is the moisture content in the food grains at the place of storage, which you need to take care of. Very important, because if you are not maintaining the moisture content, what will happen? It will allow the growth of bacteria and fungi. So it is very important to look at the moisture content. Humidity in the air. Again, it is directly related to the moisture content, because if there is more humidity, that will allow the more moisture in the air or within the grains as well, which can again lead to the growth of fungus. High temperature at the place of storage is another important factor. Sometimes what happens is if you provide too much of high temperature, that can lead to the spoilage. If you provide very less temperature as well, that can also lead to the spoilage. Material of the container that has been used for the storage, you have to use good kind of material. Means what you can say, the material should not be like that. It should not be like a plastic or something which you are using for the storage, because that will attract the microorganism, that will attract the insects, and insects are like easily break those barriers, break that material which is like you are trying to form in the form of a container, I can say. So using a good material is a very important factor as well. So this is like the things that you need to take care of when you talk about what I can say, when you're understanding the loss of food grain during storage. Like here it says one example, like you can see like a lot of examples that I have given to you in this question. And the second question, we need to answer the prevention method or the control methods that has to be taken before the storage of food grain. So these are two methods, that is the drying, the second is the maintenance of hygiene. So now what is drying? Again, we need to make sure the moisture content should be less. And in order to do that, what we do? At the time of harvesting, the moisture content in the grains is about 15 to 35%. So in order to bring it down below 9%, grains are dried in the sun. So what we are simply trying to do is we just place the grains in onto the area where like open sun is there, and you just try to just lay it on the floor or lay it on the plastic sheets, and the sun is falling onto them, removing all the excess moisture, and only the required moisture will be left. And then you just keep them in the shade so that it will basically come up to the normal temperature, and then you can basically store them. And when you talk about at the commercial level, so there are a lot of different machines that we use, like blowing hot air by the mechanical blowers is one of the way, because again in commercial purposes you can't just put the seeds like that. Okay, so we are using such methods. Maintenance of hygiene is another way where, like, where the place where you are storing your grains, okay, like go downs and all, you have to take care of them. You have to take care the, you have to maintain the hygiene. So the storehouses or the go down should be clean before grains are stored, we can say. Okay. The gunny bags or the pots that you are using in order to store the grain has to be free from dust, dirt, webbing, or refuse of the previous stored grain, because all of these things will eventually bring the, what you can say, or attract the insects or the microorganisms. Okay. If there are cracks or holes in the wall or floor or ceiling, that these should be properly sealed. Again, all of these things will bring the insects and the birds or the rodent, because once they know that through this way they are getting the food, so they will again follow the same path. So the gunny bags and the storehouses should be treated with the insecticide is another way, or the fungicide, and should be fumigated as well with the insecticide or fungicide. Or the spraying of pesticides is also a more suitable option when it is done in the storage godowns and silos before storing the food grains. At the end, what we are trying to explain here is just take care of the place where you are trying to place your storage of, like, we are trying to place your grains or you are trying to store your grains. So if you make sure that that place has to be properly sealed, properly fumigated, and everything is fine, you can actually store the grains for a longer period of time. I hope this will help you. Thank you.